Welcome back, everybody, back with the video. Today we're going to be talking about the Otherworld Breach Hunt. Is it better to farm that over Rift? The goods and bads, literally everything there is to talk about the Otherworld Breach. We are going to be talking about it inside this video. So let's get right into it. So, right off the bat, I do want to mention, doing the event surveys on the Stove website is definitely going to be worth your time now. I will be probably put up on the screen right now what I mean by events and all that. You do get leaves, and obviously with those leaves, you can go ahead and buy more Spectre cores if you really want to. But again, I do recommend doing those moving forward. If you have not been doing them, it's definitely worth it. So now let's get into the good questions here. But before that, I do want to mention this. A little food for thought. So, since this is inside seasonal, the Otherworld Breach, does this mean it's going to rotate? Is this going to be rotating sets? Now, I'm throwing up a screenshot up on the screen right now. They did show Destro, but there's obviously no Destro in here. So does that mean we are going to see potentially Speed Set, Destro in here, Torrent, Pen, etc., right? Are we going to be seeing that inside of this? But if they do that, that means it's impossible to find Riposto and Reversal. So it's a little bit weird, right? So it's some food for thought. Again, I'm just bringing it up because I do want to mention it because it's weird how this is seasonal because there's nowhere else to really farm these brand new 2 sets. So when it does leave, what happens? The world may never know until that time does come because I have no idea what's going to happen if this does leave. Now, if it was to switch between Destro and Pan and some other broken sets, that's going to be really good. That means your only farm is strictly for 2 sets, which is pretty OP, right? If we think about it, if they actually switch the sets in here, or let's say, hypothetically, they have the Riposto and the Reversal, and then they just throw in 2 more, technically just like Rift and all that, what happens? I think that would be pretty OP. Or they just switch the 2 sets itself, right? So again, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when this time does come. But if it does switch to 2 sets for 2 different new sets, I can definitely see that being very OP. But I can see that being very weird because how would you ever farm more Reversal or Riposto? Right, it's a whole situation I don't know. A lot we don't know. But if it does switch, that's very good. Now let's get into the details, right? Let's talk about Rift. Now, Rift, in my opinion, you still want to farm Rift. PSA, I still think Rift is worth farming. I think Otherworld Breach is strictly for endgame accounts. Hear me out. So, while you are building up your account, I think Rift is better. Main reason being is because you can pick 4 good sets you really want to farm. But after you farm the sets you really need and you are set in stone, you got the good stuff you need. All right, let's say you have a couple good sets here and there. Now, after that, then I would recommend going to Otherworld Breach or the Otherworld Hunts, technically, right? Not Otherworld Breach, but the Otherworld Hunts, and then start farming from there. That is what I would do, only if your account is set up decently from Rift, right? Because again, Rift, you are able to pick 4 good sets. It ain't going nowhere. I think Rift is still going to be a very good place to farm, but if you are really looking for multiple sets, I would go farm Rift, 100%. And then after that, then I would come make your way over here to the hunts and then work on which one you really want. Because again, this is, I think, in my opinion, more for endgame. Because once you reach a certain point, then you really want some high gear score pieces. Then you want to make your way over here into the Otherworld hunts. That is how I see it. I think Rift is still good to farm. I think Hunt 13 and all that, not really good to farm. But it's probably still going to be fine. I will be testing this out later on in my own time. But I do want to wait to see, I want to wait for a hunt buff to see if there is going to be a hunt buff for the Otherworld. Again, so I do recommend this right now if you are free to play and all that good stuff. I would really recommend buy this daily with your daily energy, save up for the Otherworld hunt, and let's see the next time we get a buff event if this is going to get buffed. If this has like a 10% chance increase to get a Otherworld gear, oh yeah, that would be a perfect time to start burning those Spectre cores. There is no rush. I'm going to say this right now. There is no rush to farm this. All right, the drop rate is kind of weird when it comes to Otherworld gear anyways, which I will mention in a little bit. But again, I would recommend buying your daily ones you can with energy, save them for hunts, and let's see if there's going to be a hunt buff if you are free to play. Keep that in mind, right? Now, let's talk about the drop rates. The drop rates are a little bit wonky, I will say. So, inside the Otherworld Breach, the drop rates feel much, much higher than it does inside regular hunts. I don't know why, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I've seen some multiple comments. I've seen inside the Discords. The drop rate seems horrendous in the hunts compared to the Otherworld Breach. Now, I don't know if that's intentional, because if it's intentional, it makes sense, because obviously in the Otherworld Breach, we have brand new sets, which means you can finish these brand new sets much, much quicker. I completely understand that. It's just I don't know if it's, if it's really bugged or not, or if it's intentional. Because if it's intentional, like I said, it makes sense. It does make sense. But we'll see. We'll see what happens, right? But now let's go ahead and talk about basically the gear quality, right? So the gear quality, in my opinion, is pretty high. Not pretty high, but the gear quality to beat the Otherworld hunts is very easy. It's pretty easy. This is much easier now compared to back then in the old hunts, because obviously Wyvern 13 and all that, and all of the other 13s, you basically need, you need to farm it. You need to have a certain team to beat the wave 1 and then go into wave 3. Now it's much easier. All you really need is to run basically one team now, and it's very easier. There's so many different teams you can do now. I just use the Strauss, Watch the Shuri, because that literally works on everything here without me touching gear. Funny enough. Really funny enough, right? But yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I'm overly like it. Again, I think it's more for end game players. Again, this is just my final thoughts on the Otherworld stuff in general. Overall, I think it's very good. Now, I do think it's just better for end game players than early players. If you're early on, do not start farming this. I would recommend Rift over this, especially because Despected Quartz costs a lot of energy. And again, the drop rate isn't really that great when it comes to the regular hunts. Again, I just want to see if there's confirmation or not, if it's bugged or not, to really decide if I want to keep farming or not. There's no rush for me. Again, there is no rush. I would recommend waiting, but if you are a newer player and you are still early on, I would recommend still farming Rift. After you farm Rift, like I said earlier, you're set up and all that, then make your way into Otherworld Breach. But overall, I am pleasantly happy with the Otherworld Breach. It is pretty easy, but again, I see complaints about in terms of the drop rate. I completely understand the drop rate. I farmed maybe, I've definitely farmed over like hundreds of gear at this point. You do get a lot of gear, I will say that. You do get a lot of gear, which, emphasis, I gotta do this now. Farm Eulogy of a Saint. Eulogy of a Saint is gonna be your best friend, because the amount of gear you do get from just literally farming the Otherworld Breach or the Otherworldly hunts, it is quite insane, the amount of gear that does drop. Literally, it's a lot. Like, you really need a lot of charms for this, if you do plan to go all out. But again, back to the drop rate, it's a little bit yikes. It's a little bit yikes in the Otherworldly. But other than that, overall, I'm enjoying it. I like it. It's pretty easy, especially for a player like me. I'm at a point where I really just want high gear score pieces. So therefore, Otherworld is like a blessing for me. Otherwise, I'll still be farming Rift or hunts and all that if I really want something good. But moving forward, I do think it's good. I do get some questions about this. Keep in mind, the base rolls are not going to be maxed. But when you roll it, it can roll high. I will show you again if I do get more questions about it. So this is Otherworldly gear. It even tells you right there. And the rolls aren't max. They're not starting max. But if I roll it, it is going to be rolling basically max. There's an 8. Going over here, there's a 3. Still good. Again, 2 speed is removed, 3 speed is fine. That's their middle ground, right? So 2 speed is gone, but you can still roll a 3. And there's a 4, roll plus 12, and that's it. There you go. And you can tell it does high roll, right? Really good. But other than that, I think that's the goods and bads. Of the Otherworld Breach, overall, I still think it's very good content. 100% I would recommend farming it. I just think it really depends on where your account really is. But again, be careful with your leaves. I would recommend waiting to see if there's going to be a buff or not next week or so. Because if there's buffs and there's, let's say, a 10%, 20% drop rate increase on Otherworldly, hey, that's kind of good. But we'll see. But other than that, though, thank you guys for watching the video. Hope you have a good day, and I will see you guys later on. Peace out.